All
All
right.
right. Right now.
Welcome, Doug, to Office Flash Friday.
Hey, look, you're here.
I'm here. You're here. We're here. It's Doug and Todd.
It is Doug and Todd. We are both here.
I am here, as in here in St. Louis, and you are in Minneapolis.
Yes, sir.
I haven't been to Minneapolis in a while. You got snow on the ground?
We not only have snow on the ground, but 2 days next week, it is now predicted to be minus 16 below zero for 2 days.
Ooh, wow.
I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready. It's just not ready. Anyway, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about that, except for if you're here and then you already know. So, yeah, let's hit it. What do you got this week?
All right. I have a few things. Just some catch up because it's been a few weeks since I've been on. Been doing some traveling. We had some Thanksgiving holiday here in the U.S. So we're already talking updates to Power Automate UI flows, Doug. Right. So RPA that we launched at Ignite.
I know.
We're already shipping an update to the agent that installs locally, because this does involve an agent that you actually install on your machine. And we're shooting towards globalization, internationalization, localization, all the Asians.
All the Asians.
All the Asians. So
globalization for all the nations. That's kind of
yes, sir. Internationalization. Okay, let's keep doing this. All right. So basically, we have a bunch of things we've added for international keyboard layouts. Those are all listed here. No reason to list those out for you. You can read them yourself. But we've also done localization of the UI. So, I mean, I can imagine this is a big deal for a lot of folks. You can see here's an example where we've got. I'm not sure if this is Chinese traditional or what this is, but this is an example of being able to automate against a localized UI with Power Automate UI flows. So this is really cool. I'm excited about this one. I think this one's going to be one where it's still pretty early days, right, as far as the Power Automate UI flows. But I think this one's going to start to mature really, really rapidly, like we've seen.
Well, let's be honest. There's nobody better at Windows form and Windows UI control and automation than the people who make Windows.
Right. Yes. I think they probably sit in close proximity to each other, so they can.
Yeah, I'm just saying. This one's really been a strong play for us, and I'm astonished at the maturity of it. I've played in that space for years, right?
Yeah.
And in like the UI automation space, and it's pretty amazing.
Yes. So I'm excited to see where this goes and to see how quickly this matures and see how people do creative solutions with it. But I mean, you got to have a workflow on top of your UI automation. So I'm pretty pumped. All right. So moving on to a few other things. This one was more of just I've talked a lot about accessibility in general in Office 365, and specifically the Power BI team over the past 12 to 18 months has put a ton of effort in to making Power BI an accessible platform, and not just accessible for consumers, but accessible for creators. So this is a really good kind of roundup post with a lot of links around, here's some philosophical kind of points of view on how we look at accessibility in Power BI overall, but then really kind of branching out into, if you're a creator or you're a consumer, what do we have for you out of the box? And we put a lot of effort in even to the Power BI desktop, which is largely a power user tool. And so that's a difficult endeavor and a long-term journey too, right? To get to the point where we can enable data insights and accessibility and democratization of data to people in an accessible manner.
Yeah, I want to only push back on one thing you said, that Power BI is a power user tool. Yeah, yes, maybe, but it's very approachable, right?
Absolutely.
Because we have now college hire programs who are using it. I have both my kids going through the Power BI class because they're either in college or out of college, and like being able to analyze and visualize data in a compelling manner is something. So yeah, it's power user, but I don't want people to. We still have the dashboard and a day classes. I know you have them at your MTC as well. Yeah. And they fill up with like between 70 and 100 people like every time. It's crazy. You walk in, you can just see like the whole, like our giant big multi-purpose rooms are chock full of people, and they're all just like heads down working dashboards. And so yes, but the approachability of it is still astonishing to me, given that it is a power user tool.
100%. And the other thing I'd encourage everyone that's watching, whether or not you have certain requirements from an accessibility perspective yourself, I would definitely don't assume that your consumers are able to see all the same colors that you're able to see, are able to even see all the same visualizations that you're able to see on the screen. Take a look at this, and if nothing else, I think you have an opportunity to practice some empathy, right, for others, and learning what does an accessible Power BI report even look like. What does that even mean? So we provide a checklist and some overviews to kind of get you going from that perspective. So, but if you're a creator of Power BI content, I think I definitely encourage you to check out this article here.
It's interesting how committed we are to this across the organization for the accessibility and the tooling. And I don't know the standards rolling across. I'm probably sure it's hit your MTC as well, but we've even it's little things about accessibility that matter. So we changed the layout of all of our beverage refrigerators to make sure that all the beverages are at each layer, so that people can. Do you know what I mean? Like, so thinking about accessibility holistically is a good thing.
Absolutely.
You know, like think about it from the physical constraints of your environment. Think about it from the digital presentation, and we often consider those physical ones before we do the digital ones. But I have a lot of my friends who are colorblind, including one of the managers in healthcare and life sciences. He's turned on the color remapping features in Windows 10. But then if he were to say, well, I'm looking at this blue part, even though it's shifted away for him, right? Other people would not see the same colors, which is why that accessibility alignment is so important.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And some of these things, I mean, there's a lot. I think there's probably a lot more people that are either colorblind or have some requirements than you probably might even realize. So this stuff's definitely worth looking at. And yeah, so check that out. I think this was good. This was kind of just bringing together a lot of content that has maybe already been out there, but I think this is now this is probably worth an AKMS link for future reference here on this post. So awesome. Check that out. All right, so the on-premises data gateway update for November. Some of the stuff we're going back a little bit because it's been a few weeks due to the holiday and those kinds of things. This one was pretty interesting. The gateway recovery key to date, as far as installing for DR and for having that available for installing of new gateways, which does things for encryption of credentials and data as the data is flowing through those pipes to get to Power BI. Has you can now update that key. So in the past, that was only settable and installable, or settable at installation. So now we're allowing you to go back and update that, so you don't have to install a fresh gateway to do that. And of course, we've updated the Mashup engine as we do every month. So this one's pretty good if you especially have a good DR plan around your gateways, which you should. This should help you a lot in your disaster recovery plan. So check that out. All right, last one here. The December update for Power BI Desktop's right around the corner, but I have not even talked about the November update yet. So let's get to that, and maybe next week we'll be able to talk about the December update. This one was a big change for people. There's a lot of preview features this month, but definitely check out the modern ribbon preview. It's going to feel pretty familiar to you at first. It's got a new modern look to it with the iconography, but there are some things that have been renamed and shifted around. So if you've been inside of Power BI Desktop for any amount of time, there's going to be some moving of cheese for you. So definitely go check this out, get used to this. I especially like how we have reconfigured the data sources and we've changed the names of some of the things to kind of, I think, just frankly make more sense. So check out the new ribbon in Power BI Desktop. Okay, this one, I know I've teased a few times before.
Yeah, let's go full screen on this one and check out that.
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to hop over to this animated GIF here. So this is the decomposition or decomp tree. And if I have any people that have been around the Microsoft BI space for 10 years or so, you probably remember this visual from ProClarity. So Microsoft acquired a company 13 years ago that this was like one of their #1 selling features was this decomp tree. So not only did we finally bring it back to a first-class visual, but we've even enhanced it with some nice features, such as kind of guiding your drill path. So guiding your drill path based on overall contribution, kind of giving you an idea of what of the next drill level might be interesting to go look at based on, am I looking at overall contribution to satisfaction or to sales or something like that. But this allows me to explore across all of the dimensions in my model. So you can see in this example, it's breaking down North American sales by different things around video games. So what year was the game released? What platform is it? What's the game genre? I could look at this in any order that I want and really explore my data in a very efficient way and do some drilling. So I'm excited to have this one. This one's another preview feature that you'll have to go turn on. But the Decomp tree has been a long time coming for Power BI. So that's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, a few other things this month in the Power BI desktop. Conditional formatting of buttons, which is really cool because one of the things that you are able to change in the buttons is actually like the link, right? So if you want to change the link on a button based on something that's selected in a report, maybe you have a customer dashboard and you want to link over to that customer in CRM, you can change that button or just the look of the button based on the data that you have selected in your report. Yep. So we're making good on the promise to bring more and more conditional formatting into that. A bunch of new updates for visuals this month, ArcGIS update. There's a bunch of, as always, really cool visuals that are updated and added this month, but I wanted to point out one that I thought was cool. More and more people are kind of getting comfortable with doing financial reporting inside of Power BI. And financial reporting generally relies on a great deal of control over formatting, and financial reporting is very reliant on that formatting. So the financial reporting matrix by profit base is new this month, so definitely check that out. There's a lot of other best practices online around financial reporting in Power BI and the types of things that you need to think about because it's going from something that's printable and interactive on the screen.
I happened to be on a call about a month ago that was with some of our finance team talking about like the innovation they've helped drive by working with our engineering team. I have a feeling this might be one of those.
Yeah, no
right?
doubt.
Because I mean, they're like, we have a corporate finance team like everybody else does, and you got to produce stuff. And so it's interesting that level of stuff, which historically, back to your point, would have been done over in Excel, right?
Oh yeah,
is now that visualization layer is being pushed heavily over into the Power BI stack.
Yeah. So
and people expect people to do it both places equally well, and that's the point.
Well, and no, I completely agree with that. And if you think back to a number of years ago, with Power BI was very much only on screen, only interactive. It really didn't make much sense to think about printing or any additional types of formats. And we've really come a long way with things like best practices around financial reporting, things with the paginated reports, and being able to set up subscriptions and printability and PowerPoint exports. So the product has really come a long way and expanded out from just literally on the on-screen stuff. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember when Laura Rebelka used to produce those maps and the visualizations and everything back in the old, when it was still embedded in Excel.
Yeah.
And so come a long way.
Yep. So a couple new things from connectivity perspective this month. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator connector. So that's pretty cool. I know, obviously LinkedIn is a big deal for a lot of organizations.
I love that one, Todd. That was what for me. That's just, I don't think people get how awesome that is yet.
So are you using this at all, Doug, or do you?
I have some. You know what? I'll sometime in the next few weeks. I'll see if I can come up with one that doesn't break rules.
Got it. Okay.
Right, but yes, this is way more. This is fascinating. That's all I'm gonna say. Yep.
All right, man. Well, so more to come on the LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Yep.
We continue to enhance the SAP connectors, so now you can edit. We've talked about this in the past, but the ability to edit the variables while you're connecting to SAP through direct query is now GA, so that is very bueno. More web by example connectors. I just love this one because there's a lot of structured data out on the web that you're able to do. And I wanted to call out finally something that's been inside Power BI data flows is now we've brought in some of the cognitive services like the text analytics and image analytics into Power BI Power Query. So I'm able to take a block of text and do language detection, extraction of key phrases, and scoring of sentiment right inside Power BI. So I don't have to pre-prep my data if I'm going to do sentiment analysis. I can just bring in my tweets or my comments from my session, whatever it is that I need to do sentiment on, and do that right inside Power BI desktop without pre-prepping the data, which is
awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's about all I had, Doug, this week. We want to flip over to you.
Yeah, I got fun stuff.
Awesome.
So one that I think almost everybody missed. Maybe you didn't, and if you did, great. But I did, and I caught it, and I went amazing. Did you see the announcements about Azure AD Connect?
I'm not sure where we're going, so I'm not sure yet.
All right. So there's this, you know about Azure AD Connect, right? But there's Azure AD Connect cloud provisioning now.
Okay.
And it can be used alongside an AADC deployment for supporting it. Now, what it says is the cloud provisioning is a new Microsoft agent. This is a new agent deployment, a new type of synchronization gateway designed to meet and accomplish hybrid identity goals for synchronization of users, groups, and contacts to Azure AD. Now, read that filter there. Users, groups, and contacts. What's missing? Devices, computer objects, those are not currently listed within this. So it's not.
Things that are not humans.
That's right. Things that are not human beings. So it's support for synchronizing to an Azure AD tenant from a multi-forest, disconnected Active Directory forest environment. Hello, multi-tenant holding companies and merger and acquisition scenarios. Your solution without heavy lifting has just arrived.
Okay. That's
This
awesome.
is really exciting. If you are buying someone or you have a distributed entity and you just want to get those users into the environment, we now have an opportunity to do that. They act as a bridge from AD to Azure AD, and are basically support for HA through multi-agent deployment for password hash synchronization. So you get the hash sync stuff, you get the base identity synchronization. Michelle Gilbert said, "Did you know about this one?" Nope. So who was my guest here a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, she started shaking her head. This is extremely useful. This is like one of those in case you missed it kind of moment. Now they did a nice job with this little grid down below that says, hey, what can you use with Azure Active Directory Connect synchronization and then cloud provisioning, right? So here are the scenarios that it can do, and notice that these are things that AAD Connect does not support. Let's cut full screen on this for a minute. This is like really architecturally important. So cloud provisioning, AAD Connect cloud provisioning can connect to multiple disconnected on-prem forests, and it can do, it has the lightweight installation model, and you can do multiple agents for HA. Now, again, it can't connect to LDAP directories, duh, that makes sense for it, right? Does not support device objects, and does not synchronize customer-defined attributes, so no extensions, okay? So you're just getting the baseline components in. Also, no filter on objects attribute values. So you don't have advanced filtering and the rest, because you essentially do not have a metadata construct in the same manner you used to, right? Because you think about, you can cut back. Azure AD Connect, you think about it as a deployment, it's a service, it's kind of a little, it's a little stateless in a sense. You can have a standby pair and you can do the kind of the normal stuff around, everybody knows the rules for ADC, or you should, for having a recovery. But essentially, it's a little bit stateless, right? You're just, synchronizing these two environments back and forth.
Okay.
But you do have a metadata environment in the middle that is maintaining there is state, although you can throw it away, there is a cache. In this particular case, that's a different architecture. So it's super lightweight, designed for M&A. Go check it out. I think this is an amazingly stealth addition to the stack. And as soon as I started reading about it, I'm like, my gosh. And I was like, but then what scenarios? And I scrolled down, I'm like, look, they already did it.
I'm going to ask the dumb guy question. And that's me in this case. What was hard or impossible before, or how did people accomplish
the multiple disconnected on-prem AD?
So what did people
notice it doesn't support it? If I go to buy your company, Todd, let's say you got Todd Co, you got Doug Co, and Michelle's here, so we got Michelle Co, right? Michelle Co and Doug Co have been, we're part of the same holding company, and we have direct forest connectivity. We buy Todd Co.
Yep.
Right? How long before we can stand up networking and cross-forest synchronization and verify that we can do domain trusts and all the rest of that kind of stuff, right? A while.
Yep.
What? And because that would mean you are essentially a disconnected on-prem forest, right?
Makes sense.
And so the techniques behind doing that were cumbersome, and I'll just leave it at that. They're bad. They were annoying at tech debt architectural levels. Yes, you do not have to tweet at me. I know the patterns for them, but can we all agree that a lightweight agent that's first party from Microsoft that's hit next on is an awesome bridgehead?
So this is just making that so much easier.
So much. You could have day zero. You could go live on this, prep this, go live, and have like day zero transparent, not B2B. Say that company wasn't on Office 365 or didn't have their tenant set up or that kind of stuff, right? A lot of times we would recommend people do pre-work to establish, an Azure AD and then do B2B as day zero. Right. For day zero M&A, my goodness, right? Like it's awesome. And so, and then you also get HA, and you don't have the heavy lift of the other deployment. So it's a big deal.
Nice, love it.
And I think it's one of those ones where we just said, oh, look, we did this thing. And there were sessions on it and stuff, but I don't think it got quite the billing because we announced Project Cortex and all these other amazing future things.
Sure.
Hey, this sucker will hit your, so
there's a PM in Redmond right now cheering you on, saying, "Yay! Someone noticed."
Someone noticed my stuff. Yeah. Who do we got? Should we go look at our shiny contributor for this particular one? It's over in the GitHub repo. So I'll build math. All right, cool. So there we go. We can give a shout out to our friends inside of it. All right. Next, I want to shift away. I'm staying a little bit more on the infrastructure side, and you can cut full screen on this one too. There's a blog post released right around the Thanksgiving holiday. Did you see this one? The insights for 1 year of a polymorphic threat. It is absolutely fascinating reading if you're a security person. It just talks about how ATP found this thing, how the behavioral-based model, how this thing called Dexphot's malicious behaviors were masked, how it did. I mean, you get down to the obfuscation stuff where it is, and how it executes and the rest of these things. Now, I would like to point out. You can cut back that well, this is a great read. You would have been kept safe from this from many, many different techniques that one could deploy having a properly secured Windows environment, using AppGuard, right? Only allow trusted software distributions, isolation of principle of least. A lot of things would have prevented this attack from going on. But a lot of people don't like to use Windows that way. They like to use it just like, like I always say, like they like to basically light matches and run around near gasoline. And you don't have to do that. But if you do, you need intelligence defending you. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to go out and just try stuff that you don't know if it's safe or not, then something has to be inspecting it for you. And the better your crusty outer shell is, the less these things can get in. So that lecture aside, fascinating attack, fascinating breakdown. The lack of disk files used in many of its execution frameworks. So it may use temporarily, but it lives in memory. It's adaptive defense against signature definitions. Fascinating attack vector. Somebody spent a lot of time building this thing. And they have like the dynamic nature and track how it went down, stuff fascinating. So if you like security, if you just want to understand a little more about how these polymorphic attacks work, this is a great article. I love that we produce these once in a while to explain stuff.
Yeah, super in-depth, super geeky. What a cool story this is. That's awesome.
Yes. Okay. My final one for the week is sort of the roll up what's new, because we missed a few things with holidays and whatever else it is, including two pretty cool ones. First, did you see sticky notes on the web?
Yes.
Now you were a bigger user of Outlook on the web, so I'm sure you were like, oh yes, thank goodness, right? So
that's great. I think we've done a good, because for a while sticky notes was kind of this thing that kind of hung out over here, didn't really have a home, and now it's kind of living everywhere, which is good.
Yeah, and so even within like whiteboards and like it's a thing.
It's honestly one of the only reasons I miss having an Android is having that built-in sticky note with the Microsoft launcher. Yeah, it's nice.
Like I said, I tried to go back to iOS and I couldn't.
Yeah,
just couldn't do it. I was missing too many things.
You're living the sticky note dream.
Well, I got addicted to different functions like you do on a platform, and all of a sudden you go to another one. I miss like everybody talks about. You miss iMessage, and that's about it. Yeah. So all right. So obviously the dark mode node or dark mode.
I gotta say, I saw so many people just so jazzed about. Well, one, we've kind of extended the life of the Win32 OneNote.
I was.
I gotta be honest. I don't get it. I've been a OneNote user forever, longer than anybody. I mean, I've been a OneNote user. I'll throw down on that one, and I love the modern OneNote.
We did commit to the extension, but I got to tell you, Nick Stillings, who's a customer success manager, who's a huge OneNote dude, right?
The biggest.
He and I are doing a shootout at the next users group, or one of the next two users group, that we're doing a OneNote shootout. And
like Win32 versus modern apps?
Yeah, we're gonna do a Win32.
Is that gonna be recorded?
We could record it if you wanted to.
I've
been chartered with it. Although I like the modern one, I've been chartered with taking the point of view of the older one.
All right.
Because in a debate, you should have to debate both sides equally. One, if you're gonna be purist, like my good friend Richard Brennison, who runs the UC user group in the region, he's a debate coach. He's like, you got to be able to go on both sides of an issue.
Absolutely.
If you want logically. So, although I admit, so I've been digging into all the criticisms and forming my gallery of stuff that can't be done in modern.
Doug, can you please record that? I want to watch it.
We'll record it. We'll record it. Michelle, we can record that part of the user group if that's okay. All right. So cool. She's here in the live audience and she said, okay, so we'll make that happen. All right. So anyway, and then again, obviously it talked about the 2020 support on top of it. Did you see this sharing sheet view thing in Excel?
This one I did, and it was one of those where you're kind of like, oh, thank God, right? This one is really cool. This one is great.
So you're essentially saying, hey, I just want to share out this particular sheet view. It's amazing.
But and then allow people to interact with it in their own session, right?
Yeah, and then it basically says you can sort and filter, right, and select the option to make changes themselves or to everyone working in the document, right? So anyway, I like this. I thought this was a really cool announcement.
This one was great and also very necessary. I love this one. Makes Excel a much more collaborative tool. Yep.
Forms got a file upload.
Yes, awesome.
Right, which is pretty slick on top of things.
These days, yep.
Then productivity score, and I don't think people are paying enough attention to their own productivity, and to the fact that essentially what this tool does is treat you like it gives the same level of analysis of you that you talk about, Todd, with your Power BI to look at the other data in your business.
Yep.
And what is more important in your universe than your time? This is one thing you can't get more of, right? So don't waste it. And this thing helps identify how you can change and get better. And it's pragmatic recommendations. So I would strongly, strongly, strongly encourage that you go check out the Microsoft Productivity Score. And so how
does one get to that, Doug?
So the links are going to be in our session note.
Great. Yep.
Just so you're aware, right? So so we have that, and you can join the private preview. You can start using the ones right now. But essentially, if you cut full screen on this, I know we're almost at wrap up time. Oops. So if we drill in on top of it, you can basically say, hey, communication style, 60% engaged in topic-based group chat conversation, right? People use apps across multiple platforms, right? Participated in online meetings, collaboration around Office document, what the current score is across the employee experience and the technology experience. So it's really breaking down a whole lot more stuff. But you can already get insights around how efficient are your meeting. You can cut back. How often are we multitasking during meetings? Like we have all these signal intelligence. And I've talked about this before, but it's come such a long way.
Yep.
And then on top of it, then there's this concept, and this is an interesting light up concept because one of my customers said, this is great, but I wish I could combine that insight with other things, right? Well, there are techniques to do that. You can actually egress tenancy data through Azure Data Factory over into Azure and then lens it with other things that are completely unrelated. So we have not siloed your data. While we are grinding out the machine learning models and constructing and doing those things within the tenancies and producing things like Workplace and My Analytics, right? And the productivity score, you are not constrained. It's your data. So you can take it through Azure Data Factory and build these same kind of models yourself. That's more of you have to have a little data and AI or get a partner involved. You can do that, but you are not locked. You can do great, amazing things with your data. And that's the one thing I want people to take away. We're continually trying to give you better insights. How effective are you at your meetings? How many of them have agendas? How many of them, are people multitasking in? How many of the same people from these groups are in the same meetings? We're really trying to how to get your time back. And I think it's a really important investment.
That's fantastic. I love it.
So the data estate option, the built-in option, the out-of-the-box option, some cool stuff from within Excel. And apparently I'm supposed to be somewhere else. Sorry about that. Left that one down. I turned off everything, but some things still make it through inside of my life. So Mr. Kidda, that's all I got. We're at a wrap and we're at 11 o'clock on the dot.
Perfect, man. I hope you have a great weekend and everybody else be safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
If you're in Minneapolis, stay warm. See you in a week.
See ya.